The elements of art are 7 different things that come together to make every single artwork. They're the basic building blocks from which we build every artwork that's ever been made. They are line, shape, form, space, value, texture, color. The greatest artists in the world have used them, you use them too. And if you stick around until the end, I'm going to give you a special 8th principle, and this time I really know one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Majestic Woodlands. Yes. I decided I would bring you somewhere like this so that I could teach you about something very basic, however very important, much like the Majestic Woodlands. All right, so today we are learning about 7 different things that are called the elements of art. These are the things you actually put onto the paper or the canvas. They are line, shape, space, texture, color, value, form. Boom. Remembered them all. Didn't have to look at my phone. I'm sure you're looking at your phones if you're in my classroom right now. Enjoy that. Good luck in Roblox, Rat Chase. First one that we're going to learn about is called line. Lines are the most basic out of all of the elements of art. We use them when we draw, we use them when we paint. We also create them with edges of things when we make 3D work like sculptures. And this back here is the work of a man named Juan Miró. He used a lot of line in his. He would use line to define the edges of shapes. He would also just use line if he thought that element would look good to fill some of the space in his painting. He seems to me like he was very free with his artwork, yet everything in the artwork feels like it's coming together and working together to give that artwork a finished feel. That is definitely something that you see in the work of Juan Miró, and a lot of it is because of how he used line. All right, now this is an artist that used line very differently than the first person that we looked at. This is Leonardo da Vinci, and what you're looking at behind me right now are his notebooks. When I was a kid, this is the artwork that I was most obsessed with in the whole world. It includes, like, the most famous thing is the guy on the circle, what's it called, look what it's called, and put it on the bottom of the screen. It's a something man. This was just him putting down ideas that he had, observations, things that he had studied, and he used lines in multiple ways. He used lines, much like Juan Miró, to define the outside of edges, but he also used a lot of what's called cross-contour lines, and those cross-contour lines are what make things look round by going across the edge. Like if you had an apple, but you wanted to draw it and make sure that everyone knew that it was 3D, you might add cross-contour lines. And number 2. Okay, the second element of art is shape. It is a flat 2D enclosed space. So basically, if you take a line and you make it go around until it connects, inside that is a shape. They can be shapes like geometric shapes that you know the names for: triangle, circle, rectangle, octagon. It can also be that don't have to be any specific anything. Like if you were drawing the outline of my beard, you would just draw the shape of what it looked like. It wouldn't look like a rectangle or a triangle. So we've talked about it before, but in case you don't know, this is called abstract expressionism, when you just put different elements of art together in a way that winds up feeling finished, feeling like it has unity at the end. I shouldn't have to tell you where the shapes are in this, but if I do, there's a lot of geometric shapes spread out around here. He made sure to make them nice, crisp shapes. You can tell he put effort into them, even if you're doing something simple. Actually, especially if you're doing something simple, you need to make sure that you get it as close to perfect as you can. All right, the third element of art is form, and that is when you take one of those 2D shapes, one of those enclosed spaces, and you make it 3D. So if you start off with a square, then you wind up with a cube. And if you start off with a circle, then you wind up with a sphere. And if you start off with a drawing of a flat sponge, you wind up with... And a good vocabulary word that has to do with form is depth. So that's what you're adding to a shape. It now not only has length and width, it also has depth, so it's 3D. All right, you want to talk about form? You want to talk about 3D? Check out the Great Buddha of Kamakura in Japan. The artist's trying to give you a feeling of strength and serenity through their use of form by making this massive sculpture of something that is supposed to feel strong but steady.
This painting is Michelangelo.
And this guy used form, like you can see every muscle bulging, every single finger looks very round, nothing looks flat, it's not cartoony at all. And actually, some of the other artists at the time used to make fun of him. People that were kind of jealous that he got hired for all the jobs that he got hired for. One guy, I think it was Leonardo, used to say he painted people like bags full of walnuts. Thought they're making everybody look like a nuts. And the fourth element of art is space. Okay, the first one is a painting that I actually have hanging in my house. It's called The School of Athens by Raphael. It shows all my favorite philosophers, but we can skip past that part because that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about space. Okay, so in this painting of genius philosophers, Sorry. In this painting, they use perspective to give you space. You can see here in the diagram that I have behind me, the way that it's all laid out going back to that single vanishing point, and that is how they are making it look 3D instead of making it look like a flat piece of canvas that it's painted on. And that's what you're doing. You're taking that flat paper or that flat canvas that you're working on, and you're making it so that it's giving the illusion that it has space. Like you're watching this on a flat screen, but it looks like I'm closer, and now it looks like I'm further away. And you could take those two still frames and do a painting of them and create the same effect. All right, we're throwing it back to the classics and using this example again. Everybody shout out for melting clocks. That's not what it's called. This is Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali. So again, like I said, when we're doing space, a lot of kids get confused. They think I want them to draw stars and planets and rocket ships. When I say to draw an example of space, that's not what I'm talking about at all. Talking about here, it looks like an infinite void going back into the distance, and it's on a flat rectangle. They're creating that space where it looks like you could walk right into the painting. And this one looks like you could just keep walking forever. That's kind of how he did his. He based his paintings off of dreams. So I think he did that on purpose. He was also a very, very weird guy. Couldn't be weirder. Do not watch any documentaries about him, children. The fifth element of art, which is called color, an incredibly important one. And no, I don't mean grabbing a picture of a cartoon dog and a crayon and going and coloring. Color adds life and emotions to artwork, and it has three main parts. There's hue, which is like when you're selecting blue, red, yellow, that's where your starting point. Value, which is how light or dark is it. If you've ever used a color selector, these are the things you're adjusting while you do it. And then there's saturation, which is like, is it neon, ultra, electric blue, or is it powder blue? That's less saturated than neon, ultra. Hue, value, saturation. First painting is by an absolute master of color. His name is Henri Matisse. Hope I said that right. Shout out French viewers. I have 2 French viewers. This painting is called The Joy of Life. Vibrant colors. I mean, bright, energetic colors. Even if it's a dark color, it's still mixed in a way. The saturation is intense, hits you in a bright way. It has this energy to it. I really feel like if you asked me before I ever knew what the name of this was, I might have guessed it. The Joy of Life. Great use of color. And this is by Vincent van Gogh. It's called the Red Vineyard, which is a place where they grow grapes and make wine. So in this one, it's kind of the opposite. I tried to pick one that was very different than The Joy of Life. He's really showing you it's fall. Look at these colors. It's like, it's getting cold. It's demure or chill. Number 6 is value. And no, I don't mean how much something's worth. I mean how light or how dark. It's normally measured in black, white, and grays on a scale like this. And that's the way that we practice it in my class. And then we try to use a certain amount of those different blacks, white, and grays in our artworks in order to make them have a contrast. This is the Arnolfini portrait by Jan van Eyck. When I said earlier, we have a scale and we try to use, 3, 5, or 7 different blacks, whites, and grays off of that scale. That's called having a wide range of values. This artist, I think, creates a lot of depth. Everything looks very 3D. Therefore, there's a lot of space in the artwork because of the use of a huge variety of values in this. Great job, famous artist who doesn't need my approval. This painting's called Number 5, 1948, because you're not going to give it a name that makes sense, right? These things are worth like $100 million, and he clearly painted 5 of them in one day. Whatever. This is Jackson Pollock. He's a controversial artist. Not because of the reason people get controversial now, just because some people are like, what? You just threw paint on the thing. And he's like, yeah, but nobody else threw paint on the thing before I threw paint on the thing. And he drank a lot. I was kind of pretending to be a hater. I actually like Jackson Pollock's work. I was just expressing the view of the haters. I was steel manning that argument for you. You're welcome. Value, if we're talking about lights and darks and using a variety of them and showing how you can make an artwork pop, he's doing just that. That's the only thing that he's doing in this, is using values. And he created an artwork that, like I said, I mean, people buy these things for $100 million, but I like looking at it too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, number 7 is texture, and that is how something actually feels. Like if you put carpet all over your sculpture of your dog, then it would be real texture. Or implied texture is, again, kind of like when we're implying that there is space in something. We're just making it look like it would feel a certain way. Like if you did a painting of a sword, you would want it to look sharp, right? Why did I scratch my head while I was doing that? Does that make that weird for you guys? This ear chopping fool, Vincent van Gogh, decided he was going to do his paintings in a different way than other people were working at the time. His paint, if you see it in real life, it is laid on with so much texture. It looks like waves in the ocean. You can't do it with the paint that we have at school. The paint that he has is almost like a clay or a gel, and you can see every brush stroke of the entire thing, and it creates real texture in a painting, which is kind of rare. Good job, Vincent. Sorry I called you ear chopper. He did cut his ear off. Give it to a lady. Oh, I thought to mix things up a little bit, I would show one of my favorite places as a kid to look at art, and what I think is one of the best places where you can find examples of textures, and that is comic book, cartoon, anime art. I think a great example is Baymax. Baymax looks like if you poked him, he would like that. And you're just looking at a drawing. You can't really do that. If you did that, you would be like touching a piece of paper.
Use them in all your art and it will improve.
Now that you know about the 7 elements of art, if you would like to go and learn about how to put them together in order to make the best artwork possible, go look at my video about the 7 principles of design. If you know those 14 things, the 7 principles and the 7 elements, then all you need to do is practice and apply those things and you will be a great artist. Art is not a magical ability. That special 8th principle that I promised you at the beginning of the video, some people kind of think of this as like the origin of all the other ones, and it is dot. There's even a National Dot Day. That was worth sticking around for, right? Dots.